Alright guys, I've posted about this, I've done the audio podcast about this. Hell, by the time this is over I might be writing a whole blog post about this. I've tried to make my feelings, and I don't want to speak for Andrew, but he and I have spoken enough on this subject. I think I can speak for how he feels about this. I've said time and time again that every gun law is an infringement. That's a pretty well stated opinion. I don't think I'm mincing my words. Every gun law is an infringement. The necessity for background checks, limits on what kinds of firearms, attempted magazine bans on the federal level, and magazine bans are actually passed on the state level are infringements. Bans on certain kinds of firearms are infringements. And now, rate increasing gun parts will be infringements, assuming it's passed. There's a post on the page. I hope y'all will all read it. I hope y'all will be as concerned as I am about this, because the way that Representative Corbello, how the hell you pronounce his name? He's an idiot. The way that his bill, which is backed by Republicans and Democrats, which should worry you as much as it does me, that people on both sides of our political spectrum are actually getting behind this. The fact that it so loosely defines a rate-increasing part gives probably the ATF, and certainly law enforcement officers, a lot of leeway to define what is a rate-increasing part, being something that lets you fire more quickly. Bump stocks will certainly fall under that category. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see how things like match trigger, short reset triggers, just a hammer spring that makes the hammer reset quicker. That could be a rate-increasing part. And there's no mention made in the bill for an amnesty, for a way to register them, for anything. So basically it's saying that the sale, the manufacture, the possession of these things will be made illegal. How much power do you want to give the federal government to regulate our firearms? We've given ground for over 100 years. We've allowed them to criminalize suppressors, which is not something, contrary to what Hollywood would say, makes a gun more deadly or scary or impossible to figure out where somebody's shooting from. Those of us that have actually been around suppressors know that that's not how this works. But then again, you don't have to actually know about the subject you're talking about to talk about it in this country. We've allowed them to criminalize machine guns. You haven't been able to manufacture a new one in this country since 1986, unless it's for law enforcement. See, they get a little bylaw in there that exempts them from all this. We, the poor dumb plebes, cannot make or own a machine gun made after 1986, but our law enforcement, since they're so much better trained and they apparently have a need, they get to do all these things, which is crap. It's bull. Now they're coming out and saying that if you put a match trigger, or if you put a little bit stronger hammer spring in your gun so that it can cycle quicker or shoot faster, now that's going to be against the law too. People, let me show you the one thing I own that is going to increase the rate of fire of every firearm I have, and you can't regulate it, and you can't ban it, and you can't take it away from me. I've said time and time again to people who don't know as much about firearms as I do. And I hope I'm preaching to the choir here, but I really hope y'all will share this video and maybe get it out in front of people who don't understand this subject. This thing is the only thing that dictates how quickly a firearm will fire when it's a semi-automatic, which almost every handgun and every rifle you buy on the shelves today is a semi-automatic. You pull the trigger one time, one bullet comes out the end. How fast that happens is dictated by this thing, your trigger finger. It doesn't take a lot of training to be able to keep up with or even outrun a fully automatic firearm. if you have a well-disciplined trigger finger and if you spend some time practicing. So all this legislation is not going to make this move any slower. You're not accomplishing anything. You're not making guns safer. You're not making tragedies less tragic. The only thing you are doing is emboldening the people that want to strip our rights and giving them this wide open law to interpret at a later date to chip away at our gun rights a little more. And you're not accomplishing anything. So please, for the love of God, share this with the people who need to see it, who do not understand, A, that this is not common sense, middle ground gun legislation. This is a blank check to anti-gun people to screw us for our rights and to further limit firearms as the years go on. They will interpret and reinterpret and confuse and collude and do everything they need to take this legislation that doesn't clearly define anything and make it mean what they want it to mean later. If you think I'm lying, they did it with armor-piercing ammunition. There's been several kinds of ammunition that can't be imported to this country any longer because it's armor-piercing, even though it doesn't meet the definition set by the ATF for what is armor-piercing ammunition. They tried to ban M855 years ago. Green-tip bullets, the bullets that fly through armor vests and they're so deadly, which those was in the military, they're issued stuff. No, it doesn't do that. The military made an improved round because M855 was so horrible at defeating body armor. But it doesn't matter. The ATF will reinterpret these laws at their whim at a later date. If we give them that opening, they will use it to hurt us later. And we have to stop giving ground. We have to stop being reasonable, because reasonable is the Second Amendment. Reasonable is live and let live. Reasonable is you keep your hands off of my guns and my rights, and I'll leave you alone. That's reasonable. This is not reasonable. This is turning common citizens into common criminals. And it will happen. Because I'm not turning in my trigger finger. I refuse. This thing can make a gunfire as fast as bump stock, and you can't take it from me, and I'm not surrendering it. Get over yourselves. The only thing you can have for the people who are signing on to this bill, for the people that want to find another way to chip away at gun rights, is this finger. So, this has been a little bit inflammatory. I'm more than a little bit upset. I am frustrated with the fact that even people in the gun community do not see this as a threat. And I am sick and tired of people not taking this threat seriously. It is time for all of you to stop bickering about my rights, and I don't need bump stocks, and you don't need silencers, and who needs machine guns, and who needs ARs. It's time for all of us to stand up together for once and for all and say, no more, not another inch. From my cold dead hands, Charlton Heston all the way, no. It is time to stop being reasonable and stop compromising, because they are not compromising with us. We give the mouse a cookie, he wants milk tomorrow. It's time to say no. And keep saying no. And then say hell no. So, please share this. I'm going to post this on YouTube. I'm going to post this on Facebook. We'll see if it doesn't get pulled down. I don't really care at this point. I am a vocal proponent of the Second Amendment, and I will not be silenced, and I will not be quiet, and I'm frankly done being reasonable and being calm. It is time to get aggravated and upset and start fighting this. So, there will be a link down in the comments or in the description to this idiot who proposed this legislation. I hope you go to his page and blow it up like I've been. And I'm going to keep blowing it up until he and his ilk get the point that the answer is no. So, Phil Rabley, Matter of Facts Podcast. If I really upset some of y'all, I apologize, but I'm upset, and I think y'all should be upset too.